Well, hello, everybody, and thank you for watching the Storytelling Alchemist show here on the Los Angeles Tribune. I am here every Wednesday night at 10 p.m. Eastern, 7 p.m. Pacific. And so I just wanted to thank everybody for viewing like you do every week. And I'd like to introduce my guest for tonight. I met her about, I guess, 2 months ago. I might be a little off on the timing, but we met through a group called Speakers Playhouse, and I'd heard of her before, so I was really excited about actually meeting her. And we had a Zoom call and got to know each other. And I just thought it would be really awesome to have her on my show. So, with that being said, she's got a dynamic energy and a great story. Without further ado, I'm going to introduce my guest, Dr. Laura Cobb. Hi, Dr.
Hi.
Dr. Cobb. How are you?
Thank you. It's just Laura. That's fine. Thank you so much. I'm just Laura.
Very cool.
Although my
So,
mom would say, yes, it'll be Dr. Laura, but I'm just Laura.
well, thanks for coming on the show tonight and joining me and talking a little bit about your story. Well, first of all, let's just jump into. I like to just jump into it. We're just friends having a conversation. um, how did you get into your work, and how do you? It looks like you're helping empowered women. You're doing a lot of work in that area. You're big in the clubhouse, and you're doing coaching and life coaching with people. How did you what brought you into this line of work?
It's just, it's so interesting that you said that because, I sat my butt in a chair for a really long time trying to listen to what other people had to say and to regurgitate that in a way that made sense to the world. And I got to tell you, once I got out into the world, I realized that what they knew in school really isn't what they teach you out in the world. And you mentioned Clubhouse that I'm learning so much from the women who come into the rooms that I create and I curate, cultivate, such that there are stories that are waiting to be heard. There are stories that are waiting to be digested and received. Because I'll bet you 9 times out of 10, every single time I speak in a room, and I say the things that other people don't want to hear or they don't want to say, they're afraid to say, there's about at least 10 other people who are in that room at that time who hear exactly what they need to hear in order to become more of themselves. And on the replays, there are 100 women, men who want to hear, say, I'm not alone and it's okay. And what I do is I create an opportunity for people to own their stuff and bring it to the stage because they just want to tell it to the world and to make use of and make sense of the details to create a story that encapsulates everything that they are so they can present themselves to the world and be fully seen, be fully whole, be fully heard, and fully validated, such that I'm able to see them and others see that when they walk into the room, my eyes light up. And I'm so grateful for that.
Mm.
It's such a blessing and opportunity.
So you do it really to see that light bulb and that smile on people and that lighting that where they have a realization in their own story. Yeah.
I got to tell you, there have been so many times that I have heard, and I've only been on Clubhouse for March 27th of 2021. And I came on. I mean, I had an iPhone. My coach said, "You got to get on Clubhouse." Oh my gosh, it's amazing! So I got an iPhone, and you had to be invited. And at that point, I didn't know what I was doing. I didn't know how to create a room. I thought, oh, I'll try to create a room. I created a club. And I thought, you know what? I don't know what I'm doing. I think I'll just do a summit. So I joined on March 27th. And then 2 weeks later, I thought, well, I created a club. I have no idea what I'm doing. I never even created a room. I'll do a summit. So the last weekend in April of 2021, I just had like 15 women, and all we did was we share our stories on Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. They're like 5 or 6 each day, and I had no marketing, no publicity. I had no idea what I was doing, and I heard these stories of these women who were starving to be heard, starving to be seen, and they just wanted to share everything that they went through, and it was beautiful. And since then, it's I got to say LinkedIn is my baby, my first love, but I have to tell you, Clubhouse has pretty much taken off to just poo to the moon.
You mentioned something really powerful there, and we all have a story, and these women were loving to be able to just be heard. And I think that That's something I've been considering over the past few years. I did a show probably like 6 months ago where it's been something that's been in my brain for like 9 years, that I say the world is suffering from a global post-traumatic stress. And I'm obviously not the professional that can diagnose that, but it was just a gut, you know. And so and I think part of what it is everybody just has this story, and there's different levels of trauma or things that people have had go through, but each individual story is very personal to that person, and their stories of success and their stories of a lot of pain, and that, and hurt and stuff like that. And do you feel like that's something that really everybody they just have to this need to be heard?
They're dying, they're starving, they're screaming to be heard. And I got to tell you that the longer, see, Clubhouse has changed just slightly in terms of the mannerisms in which the rooms are held, and that's a whole nother topic. At any rate, what's remained steadfast is that people are, and men actually, I wrote my doctoral dissertation on stay-at-home dads, so I wanted to hear how men created a sense of masculinity for themselves in non-traditional roles, how they took a vested interest in their families and honored their wives. And also, there was just a number of factors which allowed them to take the primary caregiving role. At any rate, even 20 years ago, when I heard these stories up to today, I'm hearing more and more men who are coming out saying, "You have to hear me, please. They're dying. They're screaming. They're starving to be heard." And yes, it's all about the stories. If we can cultivate an environment in which we can sit with one another, if we can align ourselves and help up one person to elevate every day, it's about the stories, and it's not about the minutia and the detail. It is about that, actually. It is about the detail, but more importantly, it's about the overall message. That overall what's happening is that man after man and woman after woman, for sure. And what I'm seeing now, so more so, is in Clubhouse, every single time they're saying the same thing. Why can't you just listen? The same thing that women have been begging for years. Just listen to me. Just listen. I don't want you to fix nothing. I don't want you to do nothing. Just listen. And men are saying the same thing. I don't want you to fix me. Just listen. I think that there's more congruity than we think that there's incongruity
So
within men and women.
we'll just call it a listening summit.
Pardon?
We'll call it a listening summit.
Yeah, I love that. Right. Because listening is hard. That's why I call it active listening. It's hard. We want to fix it. We want to make it better. Or I'm going to tell, if our child comes home from a day at school, my son just went to his first day at school today.
Aww.
If he were to come home today and say someone bullied him, I'd be like, who's the person? Who's that kid? I'm going to get them. Or who's the mother? Or who's the parent of that? No, you know what? The child just wants to be heard how it felt. And these men and these women just want their stories to be heard. And when we amplify one, we amplify everyone.
I have a friend of mine that came up to me. His name is Jeremy too. He was telling me about a book that he had read, and he said he was trying to make a point to me. But one of the stories in this book was about a man and his wife, and every day his wife would come home and she'd complain about work, and the husband, loving his wife, thinks, I don't want to see my wife upset, so he's always trying to give her advice. And every day she's projecting all of her anger from work out on him. And so finally one day he decided, I'm getting her even more angry. I'm not even helping her. I want to help her. I don't want her to be upset. And so one day he just sat and listened. And he looked at her and he said, I have all the faith in the world in you, and I know you'll figure this out. And the next day she comes back and she says, I was so angry with you when you said that yesterday.
What?
Because she
was expecting the answer.
Yeah, and she says, but I'm so glad you did, because I did figure it out. Mm-hmm. And basically said, I just want you to listen sometimes. And so
that's the thing. I can only speak as a woman. I don't want you to figure out. I know I can. Sometimes I just want to let it out in the universe, because you don't have to fix me. The whole thing about you complete me. No way. You know what? Two wellies do not make two sickies do not make a wellie. Two sickies. You complete me. Two sickies. I'm sick. You're sick. They don't make a wellie. Please do not try to complete me, because I'm not whole until I delve into myself for this enough that I'm able to actually not diagnose, but to understand that maybe I'm struggling with something. Then maybe then I can get some help externally, maybe a counselor, a therapist, or just sit with me and then maybe possibly you can sit with you, and then we can come together a little bit more whole than what we grew up with, because our parents just did the best that they could with the tools that they had, and we want our parents to change just like they wanted us to change. And the hard thing about it, and the beautiful thing about it at the same time, is that we can grow into who we are every single day and love who we are, just based on the fact that we are just doing the best that we can every single day, no matter what. And if we could take that into account with our children, they're doing the best that they can. They don't have the tools yet. So when you say, I'm going to go and I'm going to try that, figure out who that bully is, or that parent of that bully, or why didn't you, why couldn't you? When we try to fix for our kids, we're not letting them figure out what they need to do to navigate through life. We're stifling their growth and development because they need to have these teachable moments. And for you as a parent or a caregiver to provide guidance and say, you know what, I really don't know the answer. I'm going to sit with you long enough till you figure it out. You're not alone. I've been there too. And I didn't know what to do either. Can you help me? If you were to tell your 14-year-old child, I remember when I felt that way, I want to sit with you. I can't fix it for you. Can you show me how? For a parent to tell their child, can you show me how? Do you imagine how much empowerment that is? So from 14 years of age until the rest of their life, as opposed to telling a child that they don't know anything what they're doing and they fix it and they make it better. And then they go through until they're 44 years of age. That's 30 years later. And they still have no idea what they're doing. They have no ground. They have no life account. I'm 49. I have 49 years of life account. I know what it's like to go through grit. To have grit. I know what it's like to go through resilience, because I know I might not have that specific experience right now, although I do know what it's like to get through something. So when we could start at 14 years of age or 4 years of age, not, well, 4 years of age, that's kind of pushing it, maybe 8 years of age, just to scaffold up and say, to help them nurture the relationship with themselves, to know what they want and how their voice deserves to be heard. What a beautiful opportunity. What an amazing gift that is for parents to empower their children.
I think that's interesting because that's something we would do with in management principles. We always say to our teams, we empower them, and we might give them some ideas, and we might give the overall vision, but and stuff like that to lead the overall company vision. But one of the things I've never done is say, this is how you're going to do it. I'd be like, this is what I need to get done. I leave you with your creative ideas, and tell me what you can do with it.
Creativity and innovation is the birthplace of the vulnerability that's there. Is that, so my question, not for necessarily for you and also for you, is that leaving others off to their side, that's not allowing you to witness their vulnerability, to step in and rise up to what you know that they're capable of. Okay, maybe you'll figure it out later. I'll be around when you want to tell me. How about you witness the birth, like a caterpillar coming to a butterfly? You will see the transformation. You will see the metamorphosis of a team member turn into a leader.
Yeah, it's really kind of cool to watch that whole moving from that storming phase of the team dynamics into performing, and watching it and kind of being the guide of it. And it's funny, I always say you manage without people realize that you're leading them.
Say it slower. Manage without people.
I always say that I manage without people. I mean, they know that I'm the manager, but I always manage with them not realizing that I'm leading them.
Because you don't micromanage.
No,
that's the best type of leader. You go ahead. I trust you enough, and that you go do your thing. I trust you enough, and I know that when I have a question, like, I don't know what I'm doing, Laura, can you help me out? That that I still respect you as a leader, and that I have this to offer to you. That's the best representation, in my humble opinion, about a leader. And also the leaders who are willing to have those difficult conversations. Because there's one thing to know, that when you come into your leadership or any type of personship, this person, of what your values and morals are, and you remain steadfast, the challenge is that when you find that your team at work is not adhering to the same type of moral, ethical code of conduct, and just their disposition in regarding values and integrity and credibility. And when you know that, when you see it, when you feel it, to have that difficult conversation, it's like, okay, I don't agree with what's happening here. I cannot continue to engage in this type of community. Now that I'm giving an extreme example, at the
Yeah,
point
yeah.
of it is that those people who stay in that environment where it doesn't represent their values, those are the ones who are stuck year after year after year, adhering to what the leaders say that they have to do.
Mhm.
That's just a pawn. So when you can stand up to and say, I don't agree with this and I'm risking the possibility of termination, that's when it gets really hard. Why does it get hard? Because you may very well have to brave the wilderness on your own. And when
It
you're out there in
happens.
the wild, you realize that you need to become, you are the wilderness. And what does that mean? That you start to know who you are, regardless of anyone else. And when you go back and see those others who are in a disalignment with your own values and morals, if you were to move over into that team, you'd give up yourself. You'd never belong to yourself again. And that is the biggest betrayal of anyone that I've ever known. When you betray who you are and your values to adhere to fitting in with others, you just abandoned yourself. You can't go ever back.
Yep. I've had that happen in my own life, and then I'm like, not doing this anymore.
How'd that go
Not-
down?
It went down with me quitting. Because it was things that were finally to the point where I'm like, this is compromising my integrity as a person.
And then how did you feel as a result of having left that? Know that you were free from that.
So liberated.
Oh my God, I know that's the word liberating,
Uh,
right?
yeah,
Yes,
yeah.
yes.
And it's one of those things where, and I think that, what we were talking about earlier, people they want to fit in so much. And we're all just looking for that love or that community, so to speak. But, if somebody's not in your values, then they're not your community.
Right.
So
I
find
love my
another one.
peeps. I love my peeps, but my peeps are all yellow or they're not even the same color. My peeps are all vanilla. They have the hearts with the sprinkly, the red sprinklies on them.
Yeah.
I love those peeps on Valentine's Day, and I love being my peeps. I don't want a Butterfinger. Not interested. I want my
Yeah.
peeps because we all maintain the same adherence to the same value system.
Yeah.
And the Butterfingers, I'm saying the Butterfingers are great. I love Butterfingers too. This is just an example. When I have a different chocolate bar, all I want is a marshmallow. That'll fill me up. Because when I allow you to dictate who I am, I'll never find my soul. And I think I think I asked you this earlier, if I'm not mistaken, that being vulnerable is essentially allowing your soul to be seen and then nourishing others, allowing others to see their soul based on you releasing yours. Not that I can't change direction, but I find my way to shore because when I'm lost at sea and I have no idea what I'm doing, I need to find someone who's going to be able to guide me to the sea, to the shore, based on where I'm at in the sea. Sometimes that's the mother ship, like the wake, the wake after a boat goes through the water.
Yeah, yeah.
Sometimes I'm the canoe. But what I'm hearing from you is that the light that you have in you allows me to see the light in you so I can light that fire off of you.
Yeah, the
And I
Mayans
can,
called that En Lakesh.
pardon?
En Lakesh. I am another you.
Oh, I don't know that. Say it again.
It's a Mayan term. En Lakesh.
M. Lakesh.
En Lakesh.
M. Lakesh. I love that. Tell me again what that is.
I am another you.
That like your mother from another mother. No,
Well,
I
you can
get
do that too. Or it's like the light in you is
it.
the light in me, and so we
I love
ignite each
that.
other.
Yeah.
So it's interesting too, because one of the things I've always felt too is that you can actually, with children or other people, you can, if you're trying to push them into an idea of what you think they should be because you think it's the right thing, or you're trying to help them and all that kind of stuff, you're taking away all their lessons, like you mentioned earlier, like the old saying. What is the old things where a man took care of the household or all the bills, and the woman take care of the household? And I've seen women that their husband passes away
Mm-hmm.
and they don't know how to do anything, and it's
Right,
because
right.
I don't know where the checkbook's at, and I don't know how to take care of this, and I'm always like, that's kind of unfair. I mean,
I
on
don't.
both sides. So
I don't. I haven't heard. I believe that that's the case for sure. I haven't heard that so much as of late. It's more so in terms of their state of being in the world. Like they can run a household. They can be totally competent, confident, and capable in their professions. When it comes to, it's not even the household. They can run the household for sure. They can do it with children that are not married. The thing about it is that there's a story there, and there's almost like a film or a veil where they're not actually showing up in their lives. And that's the thing that concerns me, is that I can bring home the bacon and fry it up in pan, but never, never, ever forget you're a man. I can fly high like the eagles. I can come down to the sea. And I can also be with you and you be with me. So I will give up myself in order to honor you. But
Yeah.
Lord be damned if I'll ever be me for me, because I need you. That's the paradox of the current, and that's my opinion, that's the paradox of the current American woman in any regard, is that am I going to fit in with you so I can be more of me, as opposed to I'm going to be more of me and I don't give a rat's whatever what you say, because I have to be me. And I think that's the case for the men too. And I think it's a different trajectory for men. I think for men, they've been crying, they've been starving, they've been crying, they've been thriving, they've been begging and pleading to only in a subtle way, because you don't want to be referred to as the P word. You don't want to do that. And if so, that there's a connotation that vulnerability means weakness. Vulnerability is not weakness.
It's bad.
Vulnerability
It's
is.
bad that it took me a whole minute to think about what you were saying there. The
Wait,
P
what?
word.
Wait, what?
Sorry,
Did
you
I
were
go
being
too
serious.
high? Did I go
No,
too high?
no, you said the P word. I was like, wait, what?
Oh,
And
okay.
I was like, oh,
Yeah. Okay. Did you track what I just said about the
yeah,
vulnerability?
I got it. I got it.
Um, yeah, thank you for that. I appreciate that.
Yeah,
I think that vulnerability is oftentimes understood as weakness, and it's not. Vulnerability is the courage of leaning into knowing that, courage of leaning into emotional exposure, knowing that there are others who are waiting for critical and contemptuous demise, knowing it's going to happen. Really, it's about not knowing the outcome, but the expectation. For me, like Brene Brown, I love Brene Brown. I respect you, Brene. If you're listening to this, I respect you highly, and I attribute everything that I know. Well, just about some of it, a lot. And the thing about all of this is that when we when we encourage the men with whom we encounter on a daily basis to take a small role by being so masculine and they're cowering and begging and pleading for, can I take a moment to be seen and heard, please? And what I know for me for sure is that women are almost the same, and not really even so, that we're all just evolutionary processes communicating with us with each other on a quantum level. And I am not a quantum theorist. I'm not a quantum PhD. I can't speak to that. But what I do know is how I feel. Let me ask you this question. Did you see, did you ever have a family member die when you were young?
oh yeah,
Without indicating who that is, can you put that person in your mind's eye? Really
yeah,
feel that person with you, or the significance of their existence, that it still sits with you in this moment.
yeah,
Did you love that person?
very much.
Prove it. Can't. You
Yeah, you
can't.
can't really prove that.
No. That's why we listen to people's stories and we believe them. For me to ever assume that you didn't love this person because you could not produce tangible facts. The facts are here. The body keeps the score. You know, I don't know who this person is. You do. I imagine this person might come down to me and say, Laura, what are you doing? At any rate, you know that you love this person and that matters. And I sit with you and I believe it.
Powerful. You know, he's said something. Then this is something that a conversation of a good friend of mine. She and I have been having a long conversation about intimacy and vulnerability, the two major things. And I think you said vulnerability. We've been talking about that in the conversations. And one of the things I think that is in men and women too is there's so much trauma going on in them, and then because of these ideas that they've had to live in and that kind of stuff, that there's abuse that comes out of that, where they become abusive because of the role they're trying to play or whatever, because they're not vulnerable with themselves to talk about what their feelings are. And there's no true intimacy because people think intimacy is about just about sex, and it has nothing to really to do about that, you know.
It's into me you see.
Mm,
Into me you see has nothing to do with sex. It
I
can
love that.
be. It can be.
Yeah.
But do you see me? Are you looking in my eyes? Because that's the soul. And I don't mean something like people say wow wow or woo woo. I say it's wow wow. The woo woo for me, like oh the woo woo, like all this stuff. I say it's the wow wow because that's the juice. That's the sauce. Because if you can see into me, then maybe I can be me. And then maybe you and I can understand one another at another level. Because when it's all surface, traffic sucks, weather's there, get over it.
Life
Then,
happens.
yeah, you know what? Then that building was there. Then there was the accident on the road. And then so and so said such and such. And then she did. It's the same thing every day. Traffic sucks, weather's there. Get over it. I'm so sick of it. I don't freaking care. I don't care. I don't care what your brother then said to your second niece's cousin friend. Seriously, when you stand in my room, do you feel welcomed? Because I'm looking into your eyes right now. I'm looking into your eyes. Do you feel that?
Hmm.
That's what matters. That you're seen. Because you know what? There's 2 dates on a tombstone. The one day we're born and the one day we're gone. Wherever gone is. And what I know for sure is that dash in between those 2 years, that's what matters. I read of a man who stood to speak at the funeral of a friend. And he referred to those tombstones from the beginning to the end. And in between was that line that represents the life that we lived. And all I know, who love us know, is what that little line represents. It's not about the cars, the house, the cash. What matters is that we lived and loved and how we lived our dash. Because I tell you one thing, when that story is being read and everybody's looking back, will you be proud of what they said about how you lived your dash?
Mm. Yeah. Do you feel fulfilled? And that's big.
And I'll tell you 3 things that I can think of, that I feel about you right now. I'm getting all filled. See, I'm okay with my feelings. Like I'm just getting so full up right now. I can say like 3. I'm not even looking at your face right now. I'm just looking at the light. Look at the light. Step away from the light. Look at the light. I'm not looking at you because I'm like now looking at your face. No, I'm looking at the light. 3 words that are coming up for me right now with you are safe. Safe. Definitely safe. I feel so safe right now. I feel heard. And I feel valid. Those are the 3 words that came up for me right here, right now.
Thank you. Thank you. Beautiful. Beautiful, beautiful, beautiful. So, by the way,
Yeah.
everybody, check out her website.
F-
That's here. It's also in the comments that I put into the, in social media as well. But what are some, maybe we got a couple more minutes.
Yeah.
What are some last minute things you can tell people? There's a lot of people suffering from a lot of stuff out there. Some people are in abusive relationships. Some people are suffering from pain, addiction, that kind of stuff. But to me, that all that stuff stems from, it's time for make a change. A lot of my clients are professionals that are in relationships, and I'm like, what are you doing? Why are you in this relationship? They're holding on.
Wow,
So
yeah. I've been through it all, every type of addiction that you can possibly imagine. Some I haven't, but many of it I have. And I've been in those relationships. Why do I keep continuing on? Why do I keep being the same person over and over again? You're self-sabotaging And there's so much more to go into. And I would love to talk with you again for sure. That there's so much there. And then just no matter what, talk to your 3-year-old self if you can, or talk to that 3-year-old child. Oh my God. If you can hold that in your space, if you can hold that in your place, if you can hold this child with that love for that moment and say, you know what? I'm worth more than myself. And you just don't even know. See, even though I haven't spoken with you, whomever's listening to this now, I already know you. I already feel you. I may not know exactly what you need. That's not my job. I'm Glenda, the Good Witch of the North, only to the extent that I see the potential in you and I see that there's a vessel there. And all you need to do, I know how to help you tap into that. My job is not to help you rely on me. My job is to help release you into the world because once we come out of that chute, it's cold. We're starving because we're suffocating because we're used to dealing with mama's fluid inside. Like, I can't breathe anymore. I'm starving. And you got to worry about trying to find something to eat. You're cold and it's bright light. Bright light. Ah! That's trauma. I don't know many people who remember their birth, but that's trauma. And so when we continue to work with one another and we give that baby infant that swaddle and holding it close, can we do that for ourselves? Sure, you want to say, okay, you need to go fly. You need to go fly. You're 21 years old. Go fly, baby bird. Come back when you need to. I'm a dentist. I'm a doctor. I'm a mechanic. I'll be here for your tune-up. My greatest gift in the world is that I can bring my son to a place where he doesn't need me. He wants me.
Very powerful. Thank you. Thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you. Well, I love this. This has been perfect. And we've had some amazing conversations about being vulnerable and opening up and talking and being heard. And I think that's really a lot of what I agree with you. That's what people are needing right now is to be heard. And they're wanting to speak, but they're afraid. And so, well, thank you so much for coming on the show. And by the way, everybody, next week I have Lottie Cooper coming on the show, and quite a lot other great speakers coming on over the next couple months. I am actually booked out until November for the show, which has been really great. So yeah, and so everybody come back here at 10 p.m. Eastern next week. And thanks for checking out the Storytelling Alchemist, everybody. Have a wonderful day.